Good evening and welcome to I'm Listening, Stay Connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative, and we're working to destigmatize mental health. Tonight we have Frankie Grande joining us, as well as Dr. Terry Lindsay, to talk about education. Now, of course, the show is rooted in mental health, so if you have a question for us about self-isolation, corona, and mental health, please do so by joining the conversation by tweeting hashtag I'm Listening, and we'll be answering those tweets throughout the show. I wanted to start tonight's show by talking a little bit about reaching out. Our own governor here in California asked us to spend the day at least connecting with 5 people. I think that's a really beautiful and powerful message because, again, our own mental health and the impact that self-isolation is going to have on us is going to be determined by everything we choose to do. And we've talked about this on other shows, but I want people to be proactive and preventative. And that means not waiting until you're really feeling bad in terms of mood or mental health before you take some of the action steps that we consistently are talking about. So again, when you're talking about mental health with other individuals, you're giving them permission to discuss it with you as you are processing your own and working on your own sense of self-groundedness and just feeling a lot better. So I love the idea of us starting our day, setting self-care goals and making one of them to reach out to a multitude of people to deal with our own loneliness, but also to check in on them. So make that something that you really focus on. And in doing so, make sure that the main conversations around how is your mental health, because that's how we really give people permission to start talking about that. Now, having said that, I also want people to know that emotions can be infectious. So check in on your own sense of how do I feel in some of these conversations, because it is okay to let someone know on the other end, hey, listen, I'm starting to feel a little flooded or a little overwhelmed or anxious. Can we start talking about something a little more lighthearted, funny, or joyful? Because again, we're taking everything very seriously, but we're also recognizing that mental health is often about not only distraction, but also rooting ourselves in things that kind of feel good to us. Now, I'm still having people ask a lot of questions about sex and dating. I know that we're all isolated. I know that we are relational beings. We're watching some really funny, adorable things happen on the news with people using drones to ask people out, showing up at someone's door literally in a bubble, or even sending toilet paper bouquets. So I just want to give everyone the reminder that the public health departments are all aligned with the same advice, which is sexuality right now should be something that's really rooted in solo sexuality, and anything partner-based should be kept to a limit. And that can sometimes include people that you are self-isolating with, although we want to always be talking about the hygiene practices that they are using so as to keep themselves and also us safe. Now, having said that, moods can be infectious and we all have to be aware of how we're impacting those around us. People that are living with others, I want us to all not only sit down and talk about the precautions we're taking in terms of physical safety, but also some of the mental health safety. And that is because a lot of us are now doing education from home. Some of us are working from home, and some of us are unemployed, and we're using our home time for rest and relaxing. So just keep checking in on yourselves and those around you and paying attention to the moods that are kind of bouncing back and forth. It's all about self-care, y'all. That's the only way we're going to get through this with our mental health intact. Right now, though, let's jump to Frankie Grande, actor and host. How's it going?
Oh my God, I'm so grateful to be here. It's so nice to be talking to somebody else inside my house. It's great. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. Everything you said, literally, if you could see me, my head was like this. I was like, yep, I agree with everything you've been talking about. So I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, you emanate so much joy that I think you're shifting my own mood. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So let's just start off with the question that I'm really asking everyone, because again, I want to destigmatize talking about this. How is your mental health right now?
I'm doing very well. I think that the thing, it was difficult, I think, in the beginning, just kind of grappling with the severity of the entire situation that we're dealing with right now with COVID-19. Like, I think that I was downplaying it a lot in my head. And then as the news started to roll in about just how long we would be isolated and how many people this disease truly is affecting, it started to become overwhelming. But as a sober individual, as somebody who does a lot of mental health, has been practicing a good self-care and mental health for a long time, I started to take out my tools. I started to put them to work. And right now, I can tell you I'm in a very good place, thankfully.
Oh, beautiful. And I think that, this is one of those moments where maybe sobriety is such an extra gift that not everyone has because you are provided with a skill set. Can you talk a little bit about what aspects of sobriety are helping you most right now?
You know, as a sober person, you realize right away you can't do anything by yourself. Like it is all about the community that you put around you, the people that you surround you with. You learn if you want to be sober and you want to stay sober, you must ask for help and you must be rigorously honest. That's the program that we work. It's one of rigorous honesty. So we don't, where I'm not in the habit of lying about my mental health. I'm very forthcoming with it. I know that that is really truly the path towards actually healing your own mental health. So I think as a sober person, learning that skill just to get sober is so useful because I'm not dishonest with myself or with the people around me when I actually need help. That's the big one.
I think that's really stunning. Also, just as, people that are male identified in our culture, it's really hard for a lot of us to just have public emotional expression. So I think when, celebrities like yourself are being expressive, it gives permission to other people. And I think now more than ever, I want people to really get comfortable with that.
Yeah, I truly believe that asking for help is sometimes the hardest thing. I know for me it was. For so many years, I spent in a place of darkness and sadness, thinking that the way out was for me to continue digging downward into self-hate, a self spiral of, you know, delusion, honestly. And finally, when I was so broken down that I asked for help, like it's like the floodgates open, I let the light in, and it's the healing could start to begin. And I feel like now that's super important for everyone to understand, to hear, but also like while you're alone, it's hard to admit that you need help from an outside source, especially since there's maybe no one within the four walls that you're sitting in. But the cool thing is that I have done more Zoom meetings and Skype meetings and reached out to more people. I swear to God, I've seen more people in isolation than I have seen in the past like 6 months of my life, because everybody's like, let's do a friends hangout on Zoom. And it's so much fun. I've played more Jackbox with my friends on Zooms than I have, I think, ever in my life in the past like 8 days.
Yeah, the high level socialization. And also it's interesting to see the random people coming out of the woodwork to check in on you, right? I was like, yes, you. I forgot about you. You got exes, friends you haven't talked to in a while. There's a beauty in that as well, right?
Yeah, and also I'm in a practice that I learned through sobriety is starting my day with a gratitude list. And I have over 100 people that I share my gratitude with every single morning. And that's another tool of sobriety that like I just get these unbelievable messages when I wake up that I get to look at that reminds me, it kicks my head out of, oh no, like, woe is me. What is the world coming to? When you read those gratitude lists and when you send them, and it can be something like the roof over my head, the fact that we have electricity, the fact that I'm looking at my cell phone right now and can communicate with all these people, little things that can kick you out of the self spiral of hatred and just be like, no, there's a lot to be grateful for. And there is. Even in these scary times, there's so much to be grateful for. And if you can start your day that way, you'll have a better day.
Yeah, you got to right size it. And I like that message that although we're taking everything that's going on very seriously, there's also some joy and beauty to be found. And our mental health requires kind of holding that difficult balance, but also right sizing things. I know that right now, being isolated at home, it's really easy to have some of the smallest things feel so big. Are you encountering any of that?
The thing that I encounter like is when I think about people in my life that are at high risk. And that's probably when it's usually it's late at night. It's right before I go to bed. And I start to like wind down to go to sleep. The fear that I might lose somebody that's very close to me that is older. I have people in my life that are, I don't want to speak it into the universe, but that sometimes that fear cripples me right before bed. And in order to get out of that, I need to immediately kick myself into gratitude. Sometimes I have to just like hold my boyfriend, like have physical contact with him because he's next to me. And also just to think about the fact that like I know that if I live in the future, that is where anxiety lives. And if I just remember that's not happening yet. No one in my family is sick. I just have to stay in the present moment and understand, no, right here and right now, everything is fine. So there's no point to future tripping. And then when I do that, I can go to bed. But that's that's the biggest thing that I've been encountering.
No, I think that's stunning and such a beautiful act of self-care, right? Like I want people to know how important sleep is just for our mental health, but also for our immune system. And a lot of people are going to bed very anxious. So I like that little tip. And also what you said in the beginning about just taking everything seriously. What was so heartbreaking is I saw a lot of people saying, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm going to be fine. This is something that happens to people that are older, but we're now seeing that this is something that can infect anyone of any age.
Yeah. And I think the thing about being socially responsible for other people is something that I think we were very slow to grasp as a nation. And I do think that is kind of sad, but also I think that if you haven't started, then start now, and if you have been doing it, then thank you so much. I think that people are just so occupied with the fact that, well, if I don't have it, then it's fine. But it's the thing that like the people that are at high risk, if we go out and we socialize and we come over to their house and they come over to our house, we're doing is increasing the risk to lose their lives. So I'm very grateful that I started early. I live with my mom and she is, of a certain age, and I wanted to be able to protect her. So I shut down my social activity about a week before we were mandated to. So that was, I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. That's beautiful. I mean, I had Patty Stanger on the other night from Millionaire Matchmaker, and one of the things me and her were rolling our eyes at is there's still people on the dating and sex apps trying to meet up. And we were like, what are y'all doing? Like you might be willing to take that level of risk for yourself, but you are impacting everybody else.
Yeah. And I mean, it just reminds me of any kind of sexually transmitted disease, actually. I know there's a lot of people that are, very irresponsible. Like they know that they're positive with something and they go out and they do behave irresponsibly. And I feel like, unfortunately, it's kind of gotten to that level where it's like you can't take those kind of risks right now. And listen, this isn't forever either. Yeah. And that's the thing where I think people are like, well, this is the rest of my life. How am I not going to have sex? How am I not going to hook up? How am I not? No, you guys. We just need to get through this huge swell where our hospitals can't handle all of the bodies that we're throwing at it right now. And once the hospitals can catch up, then you can go out and you can be just as sexually reckless as you were before, honey. Don't worry. You can do all those things, all them positions, everything you wanted to do. It's going to be waiting for you. Just wait about like another month and a half.
More is going to be waiting for you because everyone's going to be so pent up and ready.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's one of the things I kept saying is, look, I'm so sex positive. And when you hear me saying to please chill out on having sex, take it seriously. So thank you for agreeing with that statement. So what tips would you give? So for people that are saying, look, I'm not self-isolating with anyone. I'm by myself. I'm feeling really overwhelmed and stressed. We talked about gratitude list. You talked about staying in the present. What are some other things you'd recommend to them?
The biggest thing for me, when I get caught in that hurricane, that self-doubt, that spiral of woe is me, is to ask someone else how they're doing. That is my biggest tip and trick, because if you are invested in another person and you're asking about somebody else and saying, how can I help you? And you can ask the question, but you also have to listen after they say it. Because listen, if you ask anybody right now how they're doing, they're going to tell you. It's not going to be like, I'm fine. They're going to be like, blah. So you have to listen, and then you can say, how can I help you? Or just offer some friendly advice, and that'll immediately pull you out of your own head. And it's a great tool. I use it all the time.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's care. It's distraction. It's kind of hitting it all. Frank, we have some tweets. I'd love for you to answer them with me.
Oh, yes, sure.
The first tweet asks, and for those that want to join the conversation, you can do so by tweeting at #I'mListening. Frankie Grande is joining us right now. And the first tweet asks, lost my job, and I'm thinking about streaming to make some extra money.
I'm changing the color of my face.
Okay. Take your time. Take your time.
I just changed my lighting.
All right.
There we go. Good. Perfect.
I'm into it. It's all about the visual. You know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously. Go ahead.
That's all right. I lost my job and I'm thinking about streaming to make some extra money, but I'm worried about trolls and haters. Any advice for online confidence?
Oh my God. Absolutely. So the thing that you have to know with haters, and I'm a very proud, outspoken, very gay, glitter-wearing man. So I'm streaming, and there are some people that come in. I get a lot of homophobia that's thrown at me, and a lot of ignorance. And what you have to understand is the people that hate you or that are hating on you, they must be in such horrible pain. Like, can you imagine being so hatred toward you? Have to be miserable. And you also have to be self-loathing. If you're going to go after somebody and tell them that they are use the F word, or like that they should die, they should kill themselves. So I've gotten the craziest things tweeted at me. That person that's saying it must be in such a terrible place. So You have to frame it as like, they're sick, I'm going to pray for them. And that's it. And then you let it go. You have to ignore the hate. You have to, and you have to understand and have compassion for the people that hate you because they're in pain. And that's the only way to get through it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I have a second tweet. This one asks, how do I get an online, this one's adorable. How do I get an online cutie right now when we can't meet up? Would hate to get lost in the shuffle. So for those that are trying to stand out and find that love online, what do you recommend, Frankie?
Wow. I mean, I think just being persistent, you know what I'm saying? Like making sure that they understand that you're somebody that's interested in them, and you can come up with creative ways. Like I love what you said earlier about like the toilet paper bouquet and things like that in order to like stand out in this person's mind so that like maybe you're at the front. What I'm hearing in the question is like, how do I be at the front of the list when COVID-19 is over? How am I the first person that we actually meet up with? And I think it is being cute and being clever. I think there's plenty of ways to be romantic in a socially distant kind of way, especially in this a technologically savvy world. So find some cute ways, make cute videos, post them with Snapchat filters. Them Snapchat filters are real cute sometimes. You can be real cute on Snapchat.
I've used them.
They're so cute, honey. It's not all for just deleting that pic. You know what I'm talking about?
That's right.
Also, be cute. I think the cute people are going to rise to the top of the cream. I think the people that are just the same old dudes, they're gonna float away to the bottom of the pack.
Yeah, I always like the weird, strange stuff because it lets me know that they're fun. You know what I mean? So I always appreciate that. Quirky always wins.
Quirkiness is so cute.
Yeah. We have one final tweet. This one asks, oh wow, I literally can't stand my roommate anymore, and my friend has an open room. Is it shady to move out to protect my sanity? What do you think about that one?
So it's a lot of things that are going on right now. It's about risk, right? Like if you have to go to work, then you must take that risk. If this truly is, if it's a dangerous situation, like I'm seeing, like for me, like if I had a roommate and I'm a sober person and they were using, I would have to move. There would be no way that I'd be able to protect myself. So you have to just take the precautions if you feel like this is the thing that you need to do, and be super, super clean, super, super safe. Don't involve other people in your move, and, try to get out of there if it's a truly unsafe environment. However, if you think it's something that's just, you need to get some time away from this person, listen to a podcast, get in your bath, like just completely try to isolate yourself even a bit more from that person. And you can even have a conversation with them and be like, listen, these are the things that I'm trying to deal with right now. Honesty is really helpful. And that person might be like, okay, cool, I'm willing to meet you halfway.
Yeah, because it's not forever, right? I mean, you'll be able to leave the house again soon. We're just trapped right now. And also, I liked you referencing living with someone who's drinking, because that's been coming up a lot. I'm still seeing patients via telemedicine, and also people calling into the show. They're talking about the fact that their partners or people they're living with are using alcohol as a way to cope. And I'm saying to them, like, go easy on that. Yeah.
I mean, coming from the perspective of an addict, I will tell you that, the alcohol is only going to dig you deeper and deeper into a hole. We know that alcohol is a depressant.
Right.
So the more alcohol you drink, the more depressed you're going to be. So I would highly recommend trying to find other activities to balance out the alcohol. If you're a normie, as we say, then, you have your 2 glasses of wine, enjoy that. But like, if you're polishing off several bottles, I'm going to say like, maybe try meditation, maybe try like doing exercise in your house is also super cute. Like, physical activity makes you happy. It stimulates your endorphins. So there's all sorts of cute YouTube videos that you can do to do exercise. I know a lot of people have been teaching live classes on Instagram to make people like get fit and active. And I did one with Debbie Allen. It was so cute. It was the cutest thing ever. It was so fun. She did a live stream.
I heard about that.
And it made me happy. So seek out some things that are going to also stimulate your body in this time.
I'm doing the Oreos. The Oreos are what's helping me right now. So you know what I mean? Do what you got to do.
Yes.
Frankie Grande, great. Thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight.
Of course. And just sending my love to everybody out there. We're going to get through this time. And I'm always doing laughter, light, and glitter on my socials. So if you want to just come and smile and laugh, then come on over to Frankie J. Grande. I'll take care of you.
Beautiful. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're watching I'm Listening, Stay Connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative, and our goal is to help destigmatize talking about mental health, because right now, talking about mental health, processing mental health, and prioritizing mental health is really what's going to help us prevent things from getting really, really, really bad. Because again, we're all in the struggle together. We want you to know that there are other people you can reach out to and that we're here and we're listening. If you want to join the conversation with us, you have a question, a thought, a comment, you can do so by tweeting at hashtag I'm Listening. We're going to be reading those tweets and answering them throughout the show and throughout the week. I have a tweet here. It asks, is it okay to ask for alone time in a marriage right now? I love spending time with her, but she wants to work out and go on walks with me, leaving no time alone for me. I just don't want to hurt her. Thanks. I love this question because I hear a lot of care and compassion rooted in it, and we need a lot of that. But it's imperative that we find time alone. And I think that there's really loving, compassionate ways to express that. You know, I love you. I care for you. Is it okay if sometimes I go on a walk solo so I can listen to music and just think? I want us to be focusing on the relational piece, but also the solo piece, right? Because if we're overwhelming ourselves, it's going to lead to some higher levels of conflict. So it's a real act of care for the marriage or the relationship to just say, hey, we're spending a lot of time together. I don't want to get to a place where it's feeling really tough. So let's just make sure that we're both lovingly focusing on some solo activities. And again, depending on where you live, that can be the bathtub, another room, going for walks, going for drives, always honoring social distancing, the 6 feet apart, but fresh air and sunlight's good for you. So yeah, again, healthy relationships can tolerate that. We're practicing, healthy boundaries and communication. So please ask for it and also frame it as, again, an act of relational care. All right, we are now going to be joined by Dr. Terry Lindsay, licensed educational psychologist. Dr. Lindsay, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Dr. Chris, for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you were coming on tonight because the topic we're going to talk a lot about is something that's been coming up a lot on the news, also in my own practice. It's the whole piece of having the whole family home, the children home, and having to focus on education. So when a family member is having to focus on that, what are the first couple things they need to think about?
Well, this has come up time and time again. In this high anxiety time, school provided structure and predictability and routine and all of those kinds of things. And I think that if parents can replicate that in some way, that kind of structure, and the family can get on the same page with regards to scheduling and expectations, things like that. And when I say scheduling, I mean scheduling in mental fitness and physical fitness and social time and free time. And then, of course, setting aside maybe a time and a place for studying where they, are undistracted in that place. I think that structure is going to be really important for the kids and kind of important for the parents' sanity, too.
Yeah, that's right. Because, again, we're all stuck at home together. And so the mental health of each of us is kind of the collective mental health. But I like how you broke down those 4 pieces. Can you say that one more time, that you were saying there's got to be free time, education time? What were the other 2?
You got to have time for social. They've got to be able to talk to their friends. Okay. And then they've got to have their own free time, social time, mental fitness, and physical fitness. Those are the 4 things that I think are crucial.
That's beautiful, because I know not all parents are used to this educational piece. So some of them are worried. And I know I'm talking a lot about kind of letting things go a little bit, like holding things a little loosely, letting children maybe stay up a little later or eating, a little more junk food. So what kind of framework do you provide for them to make sure, though, that they're focusing enough on school?
Well, if you look at neuroplasticity, which is just the practice of the brain and how it hardwires, everything in the brain is practice. So I think the schoolwork that school's sending home and any kind of mental fitness that's going on right now should be about the practice of staying mentally fit, not a pressure or things like that. I also think it's a great time for kids who were behind to try to catch up, or juniors can get those college applications done and those kinds of things. So I think it's a time for practice and staying mentally fit, just like we would stay physically fit. It's really important for the brain.
Yeah, I like that. And I also like the idea that there's a need to take a break away from what's happening in the news with COVID-19, and school can just be a way to settle everyone's nervous systems down a little bit. Yeah.
I think so, and they're used to it, right? That's predictability for them, and I think the more of that we can provide in these uncertain times, I think the better.
And as far as like a home structure, I'm thinking about someone living in a home with multiple people, maybe parents, maybe both of them are working from home. Should the children all be doing educational pieces together in a separate room, or is it just kind of separated out? Should they be pulled together, separated out? How do they manage the geographics?
I think that's what I meant when I said all the family gets on the same
Okay.
page, like a family meeting. And if you have younger ones and older ones, this might be a time for the older ones to pitch in and help with the younger ones. I think, you're going to have to do different things for different families because you're going to have different age levels. But I think that sitting down and having that kind of family contract about what's non-negotiable and what is negotiable, and then letting the kids buy in to some of those things is going to be really important.
I send out so much empathy to those families trying to manage all of that because I'm just sitting here feeling the weight of trying to manage education with the children, their health care, their physicality, your own job. That's a lot on a family right now.
Oh, I know. And they don't get to talk with their friends, and they don't quite understand it because we don't quite understand,
Yeah.
And so I think all families are grieving the school system in general for all that it provided. I really do.
Yeah, we're realizing all that it provided at this time for sure.
Exactly.
Dr. Lindsay, we have some tweets I'd love for you to answer with us. Yes?
Okay.
Beautiful. This first tweet asks, I'm having trouble finding a balance with electronics and the schoolwork. Trying my best to be a good parent while also letting them indulge in some fun. What's a good mix of fun and education? So for the parents that, again, are trying to hold that balance of like there's fun time, there's education time, how should they be looking at the electronic use?
Well, I think the research is clear that we need to use electronics in a healthy way. If they can use them for a reward, right? After they've gotten the non-negotiables out of the way, they could use it for a reward. I've had some of my friends say that if their children want to be on the electronics, then they're going to have them do a project. So one of them's building a website, and others are using it to join a class that they've been wanting to take. So I think that you can negotiate it with your children and help them understand that you're doing what's in their best interest. At the same time, use it for a reward, put a time limit on that, those kinds of things.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I was never into video games. I was always that kid that just said, give me a book and I'm good to go. So this is foreign to me as well.
Me too. Me too.
We have another tweet, and this one asks, my kids miss their friends dearly, and we're trying to use technology to keep them connected. Am I right in not allowing them to go on play dates? I can't help but feel guilty.
I think as much virtual play dates, as many virtual play dates as they can have, I think is good. But I think right now that explaining to them that we're all pitching in and making sacrifices for the good of all. And then, letting them kind of get some of the lessons that we're learning as well. I think this is an important time for our children, as well as for us to do some soul searching, but for kids to understand that we're doing what's in the good of our community and our family members and those kinds of things.
I love that because that's one of the things I was asked what I want to come out of this, and I want that to come out of this, like a universal consciousness, more awareness for how we impact those around us.
I know.
Dr. Terry Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Have a beautiful night.
Thanks.
All right, you're watching I'm Listening. Stay connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative. The whole goal is we want you to know that we're here, we're listening, but we also want to make sure that everyone's focusing on their mental health. I have a tweet, and if you want to join the conversation, you can do so by tweeting at hashtag I'm Listening. This tweet asks, I'm working from home and it's difficult for me. I get distracted by my family all day and I can't get anything done. How do I make this work? That's a big question, and that's really important. It's going to be about having, as we talked about a couple times, family meetings and quote unquote contracts. You got to sit down and everyone has to talk about boundaries and talk about ways that they can all get their needs met. People that are able to work from home, what a gift as we see the high rates of unemployment. And so you want to talk to your family about the importance of not having interruptions. So some people might want to set work hours, certain hours where people are told not to disturb you, while maybe taking breaks to be available as needed. Some people are going into separate rooms and closing doors or hanging curtains. But again, it's about getting everyone on the same page and understanding the need to just let you focus on work. God bless, though, for those that are home with a lot of family members and kids. We're doing the best we can. We don't have perfect solutions, but again, this isn't going to necessarily have to be forever, but you got to get the whole family on board with that. We have a final tweet. This one asks, I'm currently in a long distance relationship and my boyfriend wants to come visit, but I am high risk and I know it's not a great idea, but I just honestly need confirmation because I feel terrible. Oh, the answer is a powerful no. I know how hard it is to be away from the ones you love and care for. Again, this isn't forever. Use technology. You can send gifts. You can check in. There's so many adorable ways to be sweet, but absolutely it's a no-go on the traveling and the visiting. That is not essential. It breaks my heart to say that, but hang in there. All right. Thank you for joining us on our next show. Dr. Heather Zwicky will be joining us. She's an immunologist, so we'll be talking about lifestyle tips and diet and all the important things to keep you healthy and also support your immune system. Send your tweets to hashtag I'm listening. And thank you again to Frankie Grande and Dr. Terry Lindsay. Thank you for hanging out with me, and y'all have an awesome, awesome night.